record?
Oh, Zoom.
Yeah.
I got a message.
Oh,
that
it's
said
already recording.
Right, it's just
Oh,
on
we're good.
pause.
Oh, that makes
Oh.
more sense.
Or just unpause, that's easy. You up? Okay, this is a meeting of the Legislative Committee of the CCE. I'm temporarily acting as chair for purposes of the meeting only. I'm calling the meeting to order. Today is July 31st. And I guess we could start with a roll call, right? Or just say who's here. So
Sure.
why don't we go around the table from Rebecca to
Rebecca Rathmel, City Council, ex officio member.
Richard Giannaccio, guest. We do not have a quorum here today. Just a note to the public.
So without a quorum, what Richard's representing is this will be informational. We don't have any voting items on the agenda.
Correct.
Julian, we just started roll call. Would you mind saying hello?
You're next.
I'm next. Oh, Julian Shepherd, Commission Chair.
Scott Lawfer, member of the commission, guest of the legislative committee for today's meeting.
I'm Thomas Costello. I'm also a guest of the committee. Julian, are you a committee member?
No.
Okay. So
Can
I'm.
we let Josh introduce himself too?
I was just going to get to that.
Oh,
Yep.
sorry.
So we have a guest, Josh Paluti. We've told you who's present. Thanks for coming, Josh. This is an informational meeting. Josh is the acting commissioner of public works. Is that correct, your title?
Correct.
And so now I'd like to invite Rebecca, since you have the agenda and the idea, to please.
Sure. I'll just mention we do have one member of the public here. Do you want to say hello?
Hello, my name is Andy Pragus. I live on the west side.
Okay.
Do we want to give a public comment in the beginning? In case he has a question for the commission.
I don't have it.
You have a comment or question? Thank you.
Thanks. So we, as folks know, who are here, but for those who are watching, we requested Acting Commissioner Paluti to join us today as the legislative committee because one of the primary topics of discussion among commission and committee members has been the City of Binghamton's blue bag policy. There have been several months of discussion that were really summated in a proposal that I have shared with Commissioner Paluti. Do I have to say acting every time? Can I just say Josh?
That's fine, yeah, Josh is fine.
And I think our hope is not only feedback from Josh regarding the existing program, but some back and forth around the proposal that's being discussed, and then just kind of opening up the chat from there. Does that feel okay? Okay. Why don't we, I have two kind of general initial questions. I believe others have very specific questions as well. I think where I'd like to start, you attended a Southside Neighborhood Association meeting at some point last year and blue bags came up and you represented kind of the department's position on primarily pros in your perspective of the blue bag proposal. Would you mind running through starting there, your perspective of blue bags, how it works, how it's functioning?
Okay, so the blue bag system, what it is if you're a resident, you're required to use these blue bags. There's actually three different sizes. Two of them are readily available, medium and large. And whenever you have a garbage day, whatever side of town that is, you're required to use these bags. These bags can be put into a garbage can, or they can just be left curbside for us to pick up. That's pretty much how it runs. If you do not use a blue bag, what happens is you would put your garbage out in a garbage can or just a non-city bag. Our guys would come by, they see it, it gets an orange tag. You have 24 hours to correct what's wrong. If it's not in a blue bag, to get a blue bag or pull it back and correct it at a later date.
Someone pause the recording.
Was that?
Can I?
I just want to make sure, because I got a notification that it stopped, but it should be going now. Thanks, sorry. You're good.
So basically, whatever you're putting out is what you're paying for to put out instead of a random flat fee or added in somewhere else.
So hence the pay as you throw.
Correct. Now, if you have a larger item like a couch, armoire, something like that, that can be placed out, and we don't require a blue bag for that. If you're doing small amounts of home repair and you have, let's say, a bundle of 2x4s, as long as it's 4 feet in length, bundled, and there's not nails sticking out, we'll typically take that. It does not have to be in a bag.
So in some of our discussion and the analysis that has been put together, there are a handful of categories around some of the kind of challenges and barriers that the perceptions of the blue bag proposal have been identified. I'm happy to go through those, but I also don't. I know y'all are looking at me to lead the conversation, but so many of you have also represented questions. So I don't want you to wait on kind of the trajectory of discussion to ask your
Well,
questions.
My view is that Josh can't do anything about the problems with the blue bags. That's something that can be addressed and corrected legislatively. Can order the blue bags from another vendor, get stronger ones. It can change how they're distributed. Josh has no control over that, right, Josh?
That is correct. Before I came to this meeting, I knew that was going to be a kind of a problem that everyone's kind of had moving down the line. So I went to 2 different stores. I bought 2 different rolls of blue large bags. I took a 10, a 20, and a 30-pound weight. I put one in each bag for each roll. And I have 20 years in the garbage end of things. I did work on the back of the truck for 15 years. I went into my backyard and I won them. I picked them up. I played with them a little bit. Everything that the guys would do on the back of the truck, the particular bags that I had no problem with. Now, does that mean every single bag is going to be perfect every time? No. But just in my test results, because I knew you guys had kind of issues with that, I wanted to do a little something just to kind of see if it was across the board. I had no problems with the 2 rolls that I used, and I tested on each bag.
Good, that rates as a scientific experiment, Josh.
I wanted to see for myself.
I think it's not so much what Josh can control in terms of immediate changes. It's more the perception and the experience of the office. We were curious from a workforce perspective about the program itself. I do appreciate the scientific experiment, particular to one of the challenges that were identified. What would you say your office hears most frequently regarding the blue bag proposal or the blue bag program?
What we get sometimes is, it's not so much the blue bags we have the issues with, it's why I was tagged. Your bag was out too early, your bag was out too late. We don't hear too much complaints coming from the actual bags themselves. Everyone's pretty familiar with the program and they know how it works. It's usually, they don't understand why they got skipped. It's never really a bag issue in the office. It's more of my garbage didn't get picked up for what reason.
Gotcha.
So, thanks for doing the experiment, but it doesn't address all the particular variables. For example, if you have like a cardboard box in there and, well, let's say cardboard you should recycle anyway, but let's say you have something with an edge on it that sticks through the bag, or you have a leftover pizza in there that the squirrels are going to go after to make a hole in it. So the issue is that there are ripped up bags, and when you go through different neighborhoods, you'll see occasionally a ripped bag.
Right.
And I don't expect you to address that, but I know when I moved here that we had stronger bags. And my neighbors also got a batch of bags. Probably was a maybe isolated case, but they said when they pulled the string, the whole string came out. So maybe that was a defective batch. Hopefully that's fixed now. But I think, we have to, before the city council approves expenditures, ask some questions about what the quality of the bags are that we're getting, and if we need to go to another vendor, or set standards that we have that they have to meet if they want to supply the bags to the city. But what I think that we should, in my opinion, that we should concentrate on with you, Josh, is to look at the logistics of possibility of changing to a 3-stream system, which would include.
I'd have to stop you there because we talked at the commission level about not focusing on the three
We're
stream
not
system.
focusing on it. We said we
Yeah.
would defer the implementation.
So I think since we're pausing that at the commission level, spending time concentrating on it at this stage for this conversation, since it's the first time that Josh has joined us. And I hear you and I know that's something you want to prioritize, but reiterating what the commission has agreed to, I think is also important.
Yeah, if I could make a few comments. What I like about the blue bags is that it makes people conscious of how much they're throwing away because they have to pay for the bags. And the downside, as I see it, is not so much the wearability, but you could tell me more in just a minute about that. But the downside is just putting a whole lot more plastic in the landfill. And we know that we want to avoid plastic accumulation these days. But just on the issue of wearing the bags, do your collectors report to you at all that they have a problem with broken bags?
Excuse me, Jillian, just for a second, can we let the audience know that another ex officio member has joined the committee meeting here? If you want to introduce yourself, please.
Oh, hi, everyone. Nadasa Matavetsky, Southside City Council rep.
Thank you.
The
Sorry for-
other Southside. All of Southside is now represented at this meeting.
All right, go ahead, Jillian. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So-
Josh,
If my guys are out on a run somewhere
right?
and they're noticing that every single bag they're trying to pick up is ripping,
Yeah.
that is something they would send it to radio dispatch and say, hey, like, they have to know, it has to be noticeable for them.
Right.
It have to be a lot in a row,
Yeah.
or every third one, it'd have to be noticeable for
Right,
them.
sure.
They would call that in and be like, hey, just so you know, we're making a mess and we're picking it up as we go here, but these bags are ripping. Because we're not just gonna, if you pick up a bag and it rips from the bottom, we're gonna pick that up. We're gonna clean up as much as we can and not leave a giant mess. So if that's something that's happening, often they're gonna call that into radio and let us know.
And you don't get that, right?
Very little.
Yeah.
Usually we get that called in because the bags are way overweight is what happens.
Mhm. Well, good, thanks.
Do the problems tend to occur in certain neighborhoods versus other neighborhoods?
No,
Could be anywhere.
yeah.
I think in addition to durability, which would be lower on the list of things I think I hear from constituents, the primary feedback has been affordability challenges.
Mhm.
And from two different perspectives, one from homeowners who are financially stable enough to purchase the bags. That's not a financial impact on their budget per se, but they have neighbors who don't have enough of the financial stability to consistently purchase the bags. And so either their bags go in something different or their bags go elsewhere, or the dumpster on the corner gets filled up with other bags. So I hear from folks who don't have enough income to purchase the bags. And so getting rid of their waste is weekly a challenge.
Mhm.
And then from neighbors who are saying that the waste piles up or it's not being taken care of or it's being put in other bins. So it's getting disposed of, just not by that renter or by that homeowner. So it's the affordability piece that is very.
Yeah,
frequently
so
come up.
on that issue, I need clarification. I looked it up on your website, on the city website, and it says that 5 medium bags cost $7. That's $6.99 or something. Is that price stable? In other words, can supermarkets say they want to, they think, can they add an extra on that?
No.
No.
No, they have to sell for the price that is on the website.
That
Okay.
said, there's been a number of stores that have not done that, and I've been working with our treasurer's office and with Waste Zero to
Oh.
get that corrected. One of the broken pieces of the system is that the amount of money that the convenience store that sells them can actually make on them is often less than the credit card fees for
Right,
selling it if you pay with a credit card. So the stores that are selling them and are following the rules
Yeah.
may be doing it at a loss. The concept is that they're providing a community service
uh-huh.
and that they're getting more foot traffic because they're selling the blue bags. But it is, as if they are operating within the contract that they've signed,
Yeah.
they're really not, I think they make a quarter per package,
Mhm.
again, which is offset if you pay for your large bag with credit card, the credit card fee on that is gonna be approximate.
How does that actually work? I mean, just to see, does the city buy them and then distribute them?
So that's
Waste
not
Zero.
my department.
Right.
That's
Waste-
a question for the comptroller,
Yeah.
but I believe.
Or for council.
Or for
Yeah, I was gonna
council,
say,
yeah.
the city works with a company called Waste Zero
Right.
that deals with the contracts. So we have a contract with Waste Zero, and Waste Zero is the entity that works with the stores.
Oh, I see. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
So I should add that there is this weird window, because you asked if the price is stable, and I thought you were going a different direction with that at first. As part of the budget process each year, council votes, the mayor proposes and council votes on whether or not there's an increase there.
I see.
And the increase, since the cost of the bags has to do with the tipping fees from the
Mhm.
county. So
Sure.
if the county tipping fees go up, then that
Yeah.
gets passed along to the taxpayer through increased blue bag prices, right? So, because it's an enterprise fund, we
Ah,
can get into discussing how that works.
Yeah.
But each year it is considered, and that's basically relates to the county, if the county increases tipping fees, then it is likely
I
that
get
there'll be an increase on the
Yeah.
blue bag cost. So stores bought blue bags prior to the raise of that cost
Mhm.
from Waste Zero.
Yeah.
So if I understand it correctly, if they have old inventory from the
Yeah.
previous year, and then they raise it to the price that we set,
Mhm.
then they do make for like about a month, they might make a little bit of profit from selling their
Yeah.
excess blue bags from the previous year.
Yeah.
Does that?
Because there was
price-
some issues this year with that transition, because we voted to raise the price and then some stores were selling it still at the lower price, which was causing new vendors to not want to come online because they didn't want to be accused of price gouging when they weren't, they were following the contract.
Yeah.
So there was some jostling around because when I did my spot check on stores, we had people that were both overcharging and undercharging.
Is that price stable even if you have to order other bags during the year? I mean, once you have the budget, is that stable for the whole year, even if you have to order new bags?
The new
During the
bags
course
will
of the
cost,
year.
will be that same amount for that year until the next budget year.
My question to Josh is if the blue bags are done away with and we switch either to a situation of having containers or regular hefty bags or whatever other bags people use, what problems, if any, would you see created by that change?
I don't believe I have enough staff to keep up. I don't believe I have enough trucks to keep up. I think if we go that way, you're gonna see a significant drop in recycling to begin with. I believe that our recycling is the way it is because of the blue bag system and it forces people to do the right thing. I really believe that if we don't have the pay as you throw type of a deal, that a lot of people are just gonna throw it all in a bag and send it outside.
What is could you say a little bit more on like the logic behind that?
So right now, our recycling program costs nothing. All you have to do is come to City Hall, we'll give you a bin. As long as you're separate and they are acceptable items in the recycling bin, we take them free of charge.
Mhm.
Our garbage system right now, we have to put everything in a bag. I really believe that if people have a choice of just, oh, I'm like, throw in the garbage, throw in the garbage, throw in the garbage, they're not gonna take the time to go, well, this is plastic, this can go in here, this is cardboard, this is paper. I really believe people are just gonna be, just throw it all in here and don't even worry about that.
So
I believe that will be a big, big thing.
I will challenge that based on, so Councilman Hotchkiss, myself, and Luke Day went up to Cortland, and we met with the mayor there. They did switch from the blue bags to the totes. They did not find that their recycling rates dropped, because that people are used to recycling and people feel good about themselves. And there's a lot of things that draw people to recycling at this day and age, as opposed to when we first put in the blue bag system. That said, they did see that the waste pickup tripled, something like tripled. But they saw rodents decrease. They
Sorry,
saw
what increase?
rodents decreased, right?
Oh.
So like,
Rats?
yeah, like things, problems of people keeping waste inside their house because they didn't want to pay to throw it out. So they saw, basically the city got cleaner. There were the hoarding issues reduced, but the amount of tipping fees that they had to pay, you know, that side of things, the waste that was going out formally through the correct channels, right? Because we know waste is going out outside of the blue bag system,
Yeah.
whether it being just dumped along the side of the greenway where I see it.
Yeah.
Or the dumpster at
or
the
the
complex
dumpster, or
on
the,
the
you know, so
corner.
we know that some of the waste is getting out and some of the waste is getting hoarded and some of the waste is going out through the formal channel of Blue Bag Street. They found that more things went through the formal waste system. And so there's positive sides to that, but there's also obviously cost sides to that, in terms of, like, you can't just say, you get rid of the blue bag system and we can calculate based on how much waste we are generating with the blue bag system, that's how much we would then have to move into a water sewer bill or onto a general tax roll, or however, whatever method you wanted to do to collect the money that the blue bags is collecting. It's not as simple of an equation as we can calculate that based on the amount of cost with the blue bags. It, through the formal channel, it, I would guess, would likely at least triple,
The solution to reducing tipping.
which could be positive. I mean, it's not a judgment on which is better.
Solution to reducing tipping fees is to switch to a system that includes composting, where the city would be able to collect tipping fees instead of paying them for a reduced amount of garbage that goes to the landfill, and a reduced amount that goes into the blue bags, which saves the consumer money.
Josh, I have a logistical question. In our discussion with the former commissioner, I was a former deputy commissioner, as you know, there was some concern about the workforce and what their issues are with our system. One of which would be if we went back to rigid containers instead of bags, that there might be resistance to that idea from the workforce for very understandable reasons, in terms of lifting a can is different than lifting a bag, although it may be counterintuitive to some people. And I just wondered if you might identify, or another question that people might raise is, why don't we use the automatic can lifting trucks like Waste Management uses, and what the arguments for and against a system like that might be as an alternative to, as Julian pointed out, plastic anything. We use one last thing, we use 55-gallon recycling pails, right, or containers right now for recycling. What if we went with a system where you're putting your waste in a similar, like Waste Management does that, another Taylor, I think, does that also, right? You just get a rigid container, once for your recycling and once for your other waste. So I'd just like to hear your thoughts. I don't have a position either way. I just think it's important for people to know that.
So the first issue we have with an automated truck is parking. There is a lot of space in the city of Binghamton where street parking is there's a lot of it, and to be able to roll something out in front of your curb and get to it, it's just not going to happen on certain streets. It's not even possible. There's pretty much very few spots around town where I think that would work. 55-gallon drums, we don't use 55-gallon drums. The biggest garbage can you're allowed right now is actually a 32-gallon, I believe.
Yes, I misspoke on the quantity, but I'm just talking about the large blue, they look like garbage
Right, the
cans.
recycling ones might even be 24, but I mean, as far as a garbage can goes, typically a garbage can, I believe it's a 32-gallon can is the biggest one that you're supposed to use. Obviously, if it's a little bit bigger, we're still gonna take your garbage as long as we can handle it. But the guys dump cans now. If we went to a full can system, would it slow us down? Yes. Would it be a problem? Yes. Could we maybe work through it? It's going to be close. Again, I think we'd have to increase the amount of guys and trucks we have to keep up with it to a point where it would be acceptable.
I mean, just to kind of I don't know if it came up in this meeting yet, but technically speaking, you are supposed to put your blue bag in a sealed container. Most people don't do it, but my understanding from the charter is that the official policy of the city is that you are supposed to put your blue bag inside of a sealed container. Almost no one does that, but that is still officially the process that everyone is supposed to follow based on the city charter.
Maybe they had a.
And maybe we want to change that, or we want to change how that's written, but currently, right now, if you are not putting your stuff into a sealed container, you are not following the correct process. Again, this is a legislative meeting. If we want to change that, we can change that, but technically, you could be ticketed for not doing that.
And again, if we did that, I would need more staff and just to ticket everybody.
So, and you've mentioned staff and workforce in terms of capacity, as far as cost efficiency, the current system does not pay for itself within the city sanitation services, or does it?
It does.
It pays for all of the tipping fees.
Yeah.
It does not pay for the pickup. It does not pay for
It
the
does not-
workforce.
it's not pay for my
So
staff.
from a workforce, that's
Right.
right.
It does not pay for
It does
my
not
staff.
cover that.
From a workforce
No, it
perspective.
pays the tipping fees.
It also does,
And I don't have the breakdown in front of me.
it doesn't pay the capital line
Out of the
either.
budget from the front
1.2.
probably.
It doesn't pay the capital line, which is where the trucks would come from, correct? Your equipment. Another logistical question for workforce. Based on their observations, when you talk to the supervisors that are out in the field with the workforce, what percentage of the total flow is illegally presented at the curb? Because I'm concerned that that's being underrepresented for very good reasons, but anecdotal observation versus like official statistics, because you keep a log of when people call in and complain about illegal garbage, correct, on the curb, like in black bags or whatever, or they get.
Could you say that again? You broke up a little bit.
I'm sorry. If a supervisor, I assume it's the supervisors or maybe the workforce does it, but if they see improperly presented waste, they tag it and an action follows from that. And I'm just wondering how big of a problem that is citywide, because if you talk to constituents, they've got a lot of problems with that, but maybe the workforce has a different perspective. I just wanted to know what your perspective is on that.
We don't have a problem with it. Obviously, if there's something not right, we tag it. And we go by the rules and we go and take the proper pictures and pick it up and do it the way we do it. My guys have no issue with it. It's never really been a problem.
Okay, so just to use a personal example, my next door neighbor had trash on the curb. Rebecca knows this, so does some of the other council members. It was there for more than 2 months. Illegally placed on this, the extension between the sidewalk and the curb. I called it into dispatch. I called it into city council. I called it into Candace in DPW, and it sat there for months, literally. And I finally got it removed when I got Councilman Kavanaugh involved, and he came over in person and looked at it. So I'm not saying that I've got an axe to grind here. What I'm just telling you is I hear that all the time. I heard it all the time when I was a code director. that like, it was an unresponsive situation, but I also worked in public works and I understand and appreciate the perspective of the workforce. I just want to know if you think it's working, and it sounds like you think it does.
Do things slip through the cracks sometimes? Yeah, absolutely. You know that from
Yeah, absolutely.
my seat, and as hard as you try, things are gonna slip every once in a while. We try not to let that happen. But as far as I can tell from my guys, what we have works as it should.
Okay, and I'm just bringing this point up because it gets linked to the blue bag issue. It's like, we wouldn't have this problem if we didn't have the blue bags, because they would just pick it up if it's on the curb. Like, a lot of people feel that way, I think, you know, around the city, that we're creating our own problem by using this blue bag system as opposed to the old system.
Yeah, the tote system that people seem to, you know, like, and, you know, like family and Vestal, et cetera, they have the tote system. But with the tote system, you're limited in how much you can throw out per week by the site. You can only throw out your one tote. So you, like, one of the things people need to appreciate, if you get rid of, you know, either you let people throw out as much waste as they want, which you can't predict how much you're gonna have to budget for it to handle the waste. Or you go to a tote system where you say you can throw out X amount of waste per week, which means if you have to move, which we have a lot of folks that have unstable housing and they're moving around and they're gonna have to throw more than what fits into a tote, that's gonna get them in a problem. As opposed to with the blue bags where you can throw out as much as you want, but you have to pay for it.
As long as you can pay for it.
As long as you can pay for it.
Which is the primary.
But you can throw out, otherwise, when you move, you'd be throwing out, you'd either have to drive your stuff to the dump or throw out what fits into a tote. And then you have to figure out what you're doing with the rest of your stuff, right? So, in areas where they don't have a lot of renters, that's maybe less of a problem, right? Like, my mom has a predictable amount of trash she's throwing out each week, and she has her tote, and it's the appropriate amount for her, and it's all easy to plan, but it's different for families of
I
different
think
sizes.
in terms of volume, the feedback that I've received and what I've observed is families, primarily families with small children,
have larger waste.
Have larger amounts of waste. And when you pair them with low incomes, their capacity to take care of that larger amount of waste is what's impacted. So it's a disproportionate impact on low income families in particular, but low income families primarily. And so, like, I hear the volume kind of comparison, but that tends to relate back to the affordability aspect for the folks, at least
it is structured as a subsidy, basically a subsidy, or however you want to talk about it, for seniors, right? Seniors pay less, they make less trash, they pay less. So low income seniors particularly benefit from a system like a blue bag system, but it is regressive, or however you want to characterize it, for families who generate more waste, and particularly low income families are negatively impacted. Low income seniors, even if they don't feel like they're positively impacted with it, because they still feel the impact of buying the bags, they are likely paying less for their trash than if they were subsidizing the families through a broader tax system.
We've also seen an increase in like kinship in terms of seniors who are taking care of grandchildren.
Yeah.
So like they end up fitting into that same family category, even as a senior, and on an incredibly fixed income. And I mean, I've gotten feedback from seniors as well on fixed incomes who don't see it's not a value comparison for them. It still comes down to the cost, especially as the price of everything
But they'd be willing to pay
increases.
more on like a water bill than paying it out through, like, the other systems would, if they have if they're taking care of grandkids, absolutely, they're gonna have diapers and all those things. It's gonna generate a lot of waste, and that's expensive.
Well, yeah,
But-
disposable diapers are a big contributor. But, you know, moving to the flat rate on the water bill takes away what Josh said before. There's no incentive to reduce the amount that you're.
Well, if you're only allowed X amount, you're fixed with that amount. And maybe
you know,
you'd have a pay for a different number of containers or different sizes of containers or something, there. have to
Are
be
you,
some sort
so
of-
the
I mean,
incentive to reduce, we're not, as long as we're not still stuck on the incentive to recycle, because I think that's
I-
at this point, a
I know,
moot.
yeah.
Josh, a question that's related in terms of volume issues or other issues. Have you observed that on your routes that are in heavily, areas heavily populated by student housing, that introduces any exceptional issues around certainly around the blue bags, but around other things that people might not be aware of, volume in particular? I know that the large centers like 20 Holly Street have a dumpster system, so I'm not talking about them, but just like areas like Leroy Street or the side streets that go off of Leroy Street. I know the parking's an issue there, but other than that, do you think getting rid of the blue bags would help or hinder that issue with the student housing?
I think it would hinder it more. There's a little bit of a learning curve at the beginning of the year, every year. When the kids come in, we kind of have to reteach them or teach the freshmen that are coming in what, not necessarily freshmen, the new kids that are moving out from campus, what the rules are, how they apply and things like that. So that's a little bit of a challenge. But once they realize what's going on and get going, it's usually okay. I really believe if they don't have some sort of bag system, they're just gonna throw all kinds of stuff out there at all hours of the day and night and just in whatever kind of container they want and not care.
Okay,
That's,
Well, the
Yeah.
bag wouldn't need to impact the schedule, correct? Like,
that's,
what
yeah,
kind of,
right. But I'm saying instead of, students have a tendency of just, if it's a McDonald's bag, that's a bag. If it's just a black bag from the bodega, there's a garbage bag, where at least if we're in the blue bag system, they're trying to put all that into the bag instead of just dumping stuff on the curb.
well, I think we would, I mean, a bin or a bag would still be required. Has consistently been
well,
the conversation.
Right,
in
but,
terms
okay,
of
so,
management.
But he's saying
When you
that
say a
someone
bag-
says a bag and they
Right.
put it in a McDonald's bag, is that a bag? Like,
McDonald's bag, or just the old style grocery bag. Things like that are just gonna be put out there and expected to be picked up.
with it,
Josh, if
Well,
I could
what
get
I'm
some
saying,
clarification.
that's typically something we call litter. They're
yeah,
gonna think that's a bag.
Right.
I'm good.
Yeah,
right. Or they're being, or they feel they're being environmentally responsible because they're reusing a plastic bag that they already had for a different purpose.
Right.
So like, there may not just be laziness, there may be some intention behind it, but then you have lots of little tiny bags that are sprinkled about and could blow away.
And
Scott,
also
what was
those,
your
those little tiny bags could be of different durabilities too, like if you use those produce bags, I mean, sometimes I drop something in, it goes right from the bottom, that's how flimsy some of them are.
Yeah.
So they'll be dealing with, a squirrel can rip that off in a second. They'd be
Scott,
dealing with
sorry.
more.
Yeah, Josh, if I could get some clarification when you tag any illegal dumping or whatever you find, and they have 24 hours, you said, to take care of it. That means put it in a proper bag. Is that right?
So let me give you an example. The garbage guys come by and they notice that you have a black contractor bag out there, no blue bag. They're gonna put the red tag on there. It's gonna have a check mark that says, items not accepted, no city bags. They have 24 hours to correct it. What happens is the next day, I have a truck that goes out at night. They go and they check all the violations from the day before. All the violations that we have called in are typically on the website. That day, typically right around 4 o'clock, they go up. They take that list, they go through all of those spots where these things were called in. If it's been corrected, they will take it, or they can pull it back and take care of it themselves. If it's been corrected, there's no charge. If it's still sitting there uncorrected, then we take it and they get a charge on it.
Yeah, the landowner of that property gets
The property
the
owner.
charge. Yeah, so for the renter, it's really the landowner that gets it. Okay,
Right.
okay, thank you.
Josh, I have a question to follow up on that. Do you think the public is adequately informed about calling dispatch when they see an issue on their street to let them know that there's an issue that needs to be addressed?
I believe they are. If they're not, I mean, the website is there. It has the numbers for everyone to call. We receive, as you know, lots of calls every day. So
Right.
I would really believe that if you don't know where to call, if you do have an issue, it can be found relatively easy.
Do you believe that there's effective coordination between code enforcement staff and dispatch? Which is, I know, the linchpin to your field staff. Do you think, would you say in your opinion, there's room for improvement or that it's working well?
Since I've been in charge, I believe it's come leaps and bounds from where it was.
Okay.
And we're definitely moving in a great direction. I think we have very good communication right now. I work very well with the code department. I know they just changed a bunch of guys and we're learning along with them. And I think it's going very, very well right now.
Okay, thank you.
And I'll throw this out. It seems like there's a trade-off we've touched on, whether we keep the tipping fees low or we deal with waste that's strewn around different streets of the city. And if we wanted to avoid the waste anyways, it would cost the department more money by requiring containers. And maybe what has to be looked at is increasing the department. They only have 27 people. Is that right, Josh?
Yeah, in the sanitation department, yeah.
Yeah, I know it used to be larger. So anyways, yeah, we could either have less trash that's lying around, or we could have less tipping fees. I don't know how we can do. Well, yeah, maybe I'm not making the right comparison, but that seems to be a trade-off to me.
Can you say more about the Portland?
Well, so Portland was a different situation because they were able to switch to the, the fancy automated pickup, all that, because they do not have internal staff. When they were on their blue bag system, they had, it was contracted out. So it was a privatized system. So when they wanted to switch, they just changed their RFP and were able to select a different contract. That's not this, we own our own trucks, we have our own workforce. It's not some, and we certainly don't have a bond limit that would allow us to even buy all new trucks to do something different, let alone whether or not they would fit with parking. I hadn't even thought about the parking concern. So their ability to make that switch was, they have just different constraints, but it was still valuable to hear about the impacts on recycling and the impacts on waste collection and city cleanliness.
It's not comparable then. It was just easy for them to switch from a contractor that dealt with the blue bags to a contractor that had
Yep.
the equipment and trucks to
Yep.
pick up the containers.
And then I believe I'm trying to remember if they charged everyone in the city. They make you have to buy, when you go to one of those tote systems, you have to buy a specific tote. You have to pay for that, and then they did barcodes on them, and you had to take so that no one steals yours. You when you get yours, you take a picture with it, like this is mine, and you have some stuff because you do start to have those types of issues where people could be taking each other's containers. So they did have to put in some systems and think about how do you prove that that's for this address and not for somebody else's address and.
We certainly see some of that. I mean, with the bins being provided by the city for recycling. I mean, what that also does though, in representing the affordability challenges, when, like if the property owner is responsible for purchasing the bin,
Yeah.
then the renter has the opportunity to, that it's standardizers and just kind of makes that piece more equitable for the renters rather than them being responsible for purchasing their own blue bags. Julian, I had to leave the last commission meeting just as y'all were getting into the proposal itself and kind of really honing in. Or was there anything from the final like half hour to hour of that discussion that you think should
Boy, I
be
wish
touched
I brought
on?
my notes. I do take some notes, but I don't know. Do you, Richard?
Yeah, we, I have my notes.
Thank you. Good for you. I should have brought mine.
Well, we voted to look at the different options in the proposal and to defer implementation of composting until later
We did.
later time, I guess.
I think that.
Do we know anything about the composting proposal that there was that press release about?
I
It
think
seemed like it
that's
was more of
what
a
we-
community.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
what we wanted to give the time to, like, before we evaluate how that is going or how that's working, and included in anything that the commission was putting forward. We talked about giving it
Yeah.
enough time to function before we analyze outcomes or even talk about them.
Yeah, we did agree to that. For now, just leaving composting. Composting is, a wonderful thing to do, but we want to see how this new arrangement between Vines, CC Cooperative Extension and the city work.
Well, that's something that you can give us an update
Yes,
on, right?
Josh, have you been approached about that? This new idea for composting, which the mayor announced
Yeah,
a month ago or so.
at least a month ago.
Or is
And,
that,
I mean,
I saw the press
Press
release. Aside from that, I don't think I've heard much about it.
my notion, and I may be wrong, but I think the city can sort of support it, but they aren't really going to do very much. It's going to be Vines and CCE, which are really Cooperative Extension, which are really going to do the work. CCE would do the education, and Vines is providing the sites. And I might just say that I see that as a major sort of fault of the program. You've got to take your compost to a Vine site. And how many people are going to do that? I mean, that's very different from a system where the city picks it up along with other waste.
Right, and I would agree. I mean, the role of the city, even though it was announced as a citywide initiative, the role of the city is unclear, whereas Vines is very much taking on the location and CCE is taking on the education. I think that the city perspective kind of inserted itself in the sense that the climate action plan in 2024 included community composting, but a kind of a comprehensive, this is a start of something, and that, I mean, not to knock it.
Right.
do
Exactly.
you know the location of this and the size of the plot that they would deal
It's
with?
at the, so Vines will create the system at its urban farm downtown. So, and size wise, it's up to 1,000 pounds of food waste per week.
Excuse me?
1,000 pounds of food waste per week.
Is that also?
And then they're intending to use it on site to grow, to work with their community gardens.
But the idea, which since Scott is actually a sort of a
Coordinator for one of the community gardens.
yes, but people can compost there. Will that be picked up by Vines or what? Or is the idea that it'll be used locally
It'll,
for each of the,
it'll be used right there at the garden.
I see. Yeah,
Well,
It takes a year or two though to make it into compost.
sure. Yeah.
it sounds to me like maybe the piece that can connect to I think Commissioner Bluty's work would go back to our discussion on our updating and modifying the annual letter that we send out to maybe make sure we highlight the option of people taking compost when we send out that letter, which again, thank you for agreeing to let me review and discuss with you and engage with that. But maybe that would just be another, because obviously there's gonna be press releases, I'm sure there's gonna be social media stuff, but there are gonna be folks that the only thing that they're gonna read is the mailer that the city puts out once a year, and how do we make that mailer most effective at letting people know about their waste options.
Josh, two other logistical questions. Are we still driving recycling in the collection trucks to the site where it's turned over to the recycling agent? Like it was in Appalachian, wasn't it at one time?
Yes, we're still taking trucks to Appalachian with the recycling.
Are you comfortable with that system?
Yeah, it seems to be working okay.
So that recycling is not part of the waste transfer in terms of like loading it on a larger truck and instead of driving the garbage trucks to that distance?
That's correct.
Okay, and how is the waste transfer station working out? Is that efficient?
It is very efficient. It works great. It took a little trimming out when we first got it going a few years ago, and it's working very well now.
So the waste that's being transferred there is all headed to the county landfill, correct?
Correct.
Okay. And the last thing about the recycling, do you see that as a potentially escalating cost to where it might rival the tipping fee, or does it already rival the tipping fee?
Recycling is very expensive for us. Like I said, we don't charge for it, so it's very costly no matter what we do, because we don't get any tipping fees for that. We just take it and that's it.
Correct.
And then the price just it goes up, and it's becoming harder to find places to take recycling. The place in Appalachian is the only place regionally that we can take it that's anywhere near where we are. If for whatever reason that plant closes or we can't take it there anymore, we're looking at going to Syracuse, or I believe Rochester is the other one.
So if you were going to do that, let's just say, and I don't say this critically, but some people might suggest that driving the garbage trucks to Appalachian and back is not what they were meant to be used for. And it also sounds like the waste transfer facility you have isn't set up for recycling right now, and probably couldn't be because of space considerations, if I recall properly. So should council be thinking about the possibility of having to, like, that would be a capital cost if you had to drive to Syracuse, right? You'd have to use long haul trucks for that. And
That's correct. Yeah.
okay, so I think that's an issue that's like in the background. And also, in the early 2000s, the city was still getting revenue from recycling. I fully appreciate what you're saying about the inverse relationship now where we're paying for it. Do you think the public appreciates that recycling is an expense that they're paying for? Or like, do you have any thoughts about how to discuss that with the public? As
I believe they're pretty aware of it. Discussion wise, I mean, when you've done something like recycling for as long as we have, and we really haven't, aside from changing it from, separation to taking it all in one truck, is the only real change we made to it since its inception, I believe. People just look at it, this is the way it is, this is the way it goes, and they just kind of forget about it.
Tom,
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say.
Tom, I think in terms of perception or like public appreciation, a lot of the feedback that I've gotten is that folks who have moved into the area or who have family elsewhere, in their experience, no other municipality expects, and this would be more related to the blue bag, program. I think what the public expects and appreciates seems to be like a municipally operated, public run system that handles waste management without imposing a burden for doing so on residents. And so when, like, with our system being different, that's where it starts to break down, which is why council gets all of the calls that we do about the blue bag system.
I was gonna say, my conversations with people about recycling is that generally speaking, residents don't believe what they put in recycling is being recycled. They believe, and part of that maybe has to do with the truck system change that you mentioned. Because people frequently, their thing is, they put it in the same truck. It's clearly they're just trashing it. So that is the consistent line I hear, is that the recycling isn't getting recycled anyway, so none of it kind of matters.
So there's a little bit of truth to that. Anything that goes into these trucks goes to the recycling center. Now, just because it's a piece of plastic does not make it recyclable. Just because it's cardboard doesn't make it recyclable. So when that stuff does get to the recycling center, it is sorted and sent to the landfill at some point. Some certain things,
Yeah.
and every recycling center is a little bit different on what they do and do not recycle.
So I had a question about that, because I was interested with natural economic experiments, and we every time we see the tipping fee go up on blue bags, for example, is there a relationship to a higher level of contamination of our recycling, right? Like when people can't afford to throw out their stuff in their blue bag, are they more likely to put trash in the recycling bin? And so that to me, like potentially, if there's some numbers we could get from the recycling plant, but I basically from talking to the county, it sounded like a lot of this stuff like all gets merged together and you can't tell what's Binghamton and what's the different areas. But do we get any sort of reporting on the contamination level of our recycling? What percentage of our recycling like, do we get billed for, like, we pay this Appalachian group to sort it, but do we get the feedback of how high quality our recycling was? Is that how we ever tried asking for
but
it?
really, I think the big problem is that people do not differentiate. They don't know that they can't throw away CDs. As far as they're concerned, that's plastic, right?
Right.
Well, they don't look for like number 5, number 6. They just see plastic and they throw it in there.
Right.
And yeah,
It's
people
an
don't know the
education
basics, like you can't recycle anything
I don't
that's
think
a
it's
credit
because
card
they
size or
wanna
smaller,
save
right? Like
money
there's
on
sizes.
blue bags. They just
Right.
don't.
Some of the things I have really, like, I've had arguments on the phone about like plastic toys.
Yeah,
I'm like,
can't
it's
recycle.
not
Yeah.
recyclable. It's just not.
Right, so, I mean, you have different groups, right? You have the people that, again, are like coming from that environmental mindset, and they call it wish cycling, right? Like they really don't, it's painful to put it into the trash, so they put it in the recycling because they wanna think that the thing is recyclable. But my thought was more relating to, like, we know, we can see when we raise the price of blue bags, and I'm curious, since part of the argument for blue bags is an environmental argument, making people in touch with the cost of their waste, right? They are, when you buy something, and then you throw it out, you are putting, not just, I mean, the amount you pay is almost nothing, considering that it's going to sit in a landfill for generations, right? And that's, not, the consumer doesn't have all the power because you go into the store and like they're the ones wrapping it in 15 pieces of plastic and whatnot. Now you have to pay to throw it out. All those things. But like, there's an environmental argument to the blue bag system, and I want to understand how the impact of the blue bags might have on the quality of our recycling, right? Because you could say, well, again, I think the Cortland mayor argued that their recycling rates did not drop. So that I believe that it won't have an impact in that way, but I'm not sure if the blue bags have a negative relationship and the increasing price of blue bags, which the price is always going to go up because the tipping fees are always going to go up. If that's impacting the quality of our recycling, right? And therefore detrimental environmental, you want people who are recycling to know what they're doing and recycling correctly.
It probably is, but the way to.
But I mean, it
reduce
seems
that-
like
I
we
mean,
could
you
get that
can-
data, that's,
You can reduce the volume that goes into the blue bags by recycling or by composting. And if you do both, you're gonna reduce the volume and you'll reduce the cost to the consumer as well as the impact on the landfill. But the question I have for you, Josh, is you said that the recyclables go to Appalachia. Where does where do the branches and yard waste go to become mulch?
They go to Concord.
Conklin? Do you happen to know roughly like what the distance is to those two places from Binghamton? Conklin's
It's
kind of
about,
big.
it's a 15-minute drive.
Thank you.
I thought you actually had a place on, what's the street that goes up from,
over by the golf course.
yeah, on the way to Ely Park.
You're talking about LaGrange?
Yeah,
So LaGrange is just where we take our millings and dirt and things like that.
oh, I see.
Yeah, that's not where we take.
compost.
Right. If we're doing a job and we have a little bit of dirt or some
Yeah.
concrete or something
Right,
like
I
that,
see.
we'll take it there and we'll stack it there.
I see, okay.
Josh, you mentioned the workforce reduction. Certainly smaller than it was when I was working in Public Works. Is that a recruiting issue or is it a budgetary issue where you're just not able to hire more people?
It's since I've been down here, this is how it's been. I don't know why it was reduced or the reasoning behind it. That was done by the people ahead of me.
Okay.
Staffing is a problem. I have a hard time finding guys for all aspects of my department.
Uh-huh. So what, do you have a suggestion about ways that might be used by council to address that? Do you have any ideas or thoughts?
To increase my staff.
Yeah, to address your workforce issues, whatever they may be, in terms of the size of your workforce or the equipment that you have or whatever.
So our garbage fleet's in pretty good shape right now. Our trucks are relatively new, but as usual, as anybody in the truck industry knows, you have to be a few years ahead with your trucks now. To get a truck is a 2 or 3 year wait list, and that's for any kind of truck. So you have to really look ahead at what you're doing there. So when I do come and you're looking at my budget, like, Josh, we just bought garbage trucks 3 years ago. Why are we already budgeting for another one? It's because, yes, we bought them 3 years ago, but this truck isn't coming for another 3 years. That's a huge thing for me right now. As far as recruiting guys, that's just going to be the world we live in today. Getting somebody to come and recruit a garbage man is not an easy thing to do. It's not just me. I've talked to people in different states. Whenever I go out of town, I try to find their public works department. I visit Delaware once a year. I become friendly with the people down there and they have the same problem. They go, yeah, during the summer down here, we have all kinds of people willing to help out. But once tourist season's over, we have a hard time staffing even for any department. So I think that's more of a whole world issue than just here. And I'm hoping it'll just fix itself.
Okay, thank you.
We are at 1:12. I mean, we've generally been pretty informal as far
Yeah.
as the duration of meetings, but quick time check. Not only for folks, but also Acting Commissioner Paludi. Do we feel like, I mean, this is not the last conversation. Certainly, this has been an ongoing discussion.
I guess I might have one more question. What if we went, I still don't like plastic, but but it has great advantages. Do you think there's any possibility of changing to a more recyclable thing like a tough paper bag? I mean, I know what you're, at
Like
least,
the compost yard waste kind of bags,
yeah.
like it's like a
I mean,
wax.
when it rains,
So-
I mean, what,
Yeah, it's a problem.
yeah,
It's a problem.
And also, when the grease will leach through the paper bag and attract animals.
yeah,
If you have like donuts or whatever.
yeah.
Donuts.
Leftovers.
Okay,
They gone stale, well, it won't happen in all households, but some.
Are there any other workforce specific, I know you asked quite a few and Scott, you had thoughts, but any other workforce specific questions that, one thing that I did, and Josh, I think I mentioned in one of my earlier emails, if you think there's anyone from your workforce who's been there for some time that might be interested or willing to also offer perspective, would that be an option?
I can talk to the guys. Yeah.
I think the one thing that I learned in my experience in both positions that I held was that if you don't have buy-in from the workforce, which includes their labor organization, legislative or administrative changes can be adversely affected very seriously. It's also very, I think, easy to overestimate culture change. So an example would be like the streets crews, when we tried to shift to in-house paving as opposed to contractor paving, like a system that's currently being used, where we have a third party do milling and sometimes paving. And correct me, Josh, if it's changed again or whatever, but that's what I've observed out on the street. You got to get the workforce to feel good about that in a reasonable way. And you got to give them enough time for that to happen. And there are generational moments that you may be going through that right now, where like people have been there for 25 or more years as a group, as opposed to as individuals, and they all leave at the same time. I think the fire department's gone through that. Code certainly has just gone through that. So that's just something that everyone, I think, needs to think about if they can. And your thoughts on that would be welcome also, of course.
You're right. We're seeing that shift right now from people in my age bracket and the new guys that are taking over for when I started 20 years ago. It's definitely a jump. It's definitely an adjustment, and it's one thing about the guys that have been around for a while. They try to take the guys under their wings as much as they can and teach them as much as they can, so they're not blind to what they're walking into. Like some of us were. Like when I got here, there was very little help. It's here you go, figure it out. Where nowadays the older guys are more apt to, hey, instead of doing it this way, let's go this way. You know, I'll show you why it works better.
good.
No, I was just going to say, one of the most frustrating things as a manager that I faced was when you wanted to change something in a kind of fundamental way, and the workforce rep might say to you, we've always done it this way. You know, why are you doing it that way? Do you have a good reason for doing it? It's like, no, we've always done it that way. So you need a blend of what you're talking about, where the older people are transferring knowledge and the younger people are receptive, or the newer people are receptive to that. I don't mean age old and young, but just in terms of department. So it's a significant managerial problem that shouldn't be underestimated. That's really the only point I'm trying to make.
Gotcha.
Any other final points or questions?
Well, I just wanted to repeat one of the points that Josh made earlier, in that he was part of the workforce before he got his present position. So we did get that perspective to some extent. If you want another one, I have a neighbor who's been there, Sean Carr, who you know very well.
No, Sean, very well.
And he's been there for many years, and he could give you some of the same or different additional points.
I got an email with a question in it, asking about why the solid waste report hasn't been published and posted on the website like it used to be. Do you know the answer to that question? That would be the annual solid waste report.
I do not know the answer to that. I know that I did get foiled for that not too long ago.
Mhm.
And I did get that foil out as soon as, I think I need a little bit of an extension on it, but I did get it out as soon as I could. That's something I can look into.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I've learned a lot. And thanks, Josh, for very,
If we have any follow-ups, can we contact you by email? or-
Yep,
Thank you.
no problem.
And
I'm
we'll
always,
bring the
Yeah, I was gonna say,
discussion
does
to-
should the chair funnel the questions over, or?
Yeah, I think we'll bring the discussion to the next full commission meeting, just by way of committee reports. And then, I mean, it's been a component of our full commission discussion as well. So I certainly imagine there will be follow-up. Is there, so still no public comment still? Should we leave? Do you want any time for public comment or no?
no, okay.
Okay. Actually, I can't make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah,
Tom?
we're non-voting.
I'm calling for a motion to adjourn one of the other members.
Second.
Okay, I heard one and I got a second. So all in favor? Aye.
Hi.
Thank you very much for coming.
Yeah.
Nice to talk to you, and I hope we see you again.
It was a great meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you.